We're finally getting another episode we weren't expecting. Still a little weird though. Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and next time on Death Battle, we have the Ultimate Spider-Man, aka Miles Morales from Marvel, going up against Deku, aka Izuku Midoriya from My Hero Academia. Yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. I can say that I definitely really like both of these characters personally, and I can definitely see the connective tissue between them, like it's pretty obvious if you ask me, so I think it's cool that they're deciding to cover this one. I do think the timing of it all is just a little weird, like just a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that we're getting something that's not from the Kickstarter, not revealed to us from the Kickstarter, but, we just had a My Hero Academia episode pretty recently, and also a Marvel one too right before that one, but, Marvel comes in and out all the time, and I know that that's not always uncommon. Sometimes I like to double up on series pretty quickly, but that combined with the fact that we have had so many returning combatants, recently on Death Battle, and we know we're gonna get some more based on episodes that are confirmed, all that put together is just a little weird to me. Like, I do like seeing fresh faces generally, and Miles getting a run back before Peter feels very, very strange, but, either way, I can roll with this. It's not the biggest deal in the world or anything, and I'm still really excited to see what Death Battle does with this episode. So as I usually like to do nowadays, let's first go over the categories that I think are necessary to bring up, but are still relatively close. Both Deku and Miles are very intelligent fighters. They both come up with game-winning strategies and battle tactics on the fly, a lot of experience with that, and they both have decently high levels of stamina and hand-to-hand fighting ability. Speed is also a category that I feel like, generally speaking, or normally, they would be around the same as each other. Like, both of them can dodge light beams, and they both have their own special sense. Miles has the spider sense, obviously, and Deku has the danger sense. That's one of his quirks. Granted, I wouldn't be surprised if Miles' sense is more all-encompassing, and I feel like there might be ways to scale him slightly higher than Deku's base or normal speed with some leeway, but even still, there's not going to be a crazy big difference for that comparison specifically. Versatility is also interesting because while Deku definitely has a lot of individual powers thanks to the quirks he's inherited, Miles has easily worked around a few powers very similar to some of his quirks, including powers similar to Black Whip and Float. Plus, while both of these characters have a way of camouflaging themselves, Miles' invisibility has actually gotten past Peter Parker's spider sense before, whereas Miles' own sense should be able to counter Deku's camouflage. Miles also has very similar powers to Peter Parker, of course. He's got the wall crawling, the self-healing, and various types of webbing, but he also has his bioelectric attributes, like being able to shoot out electricity, make giant explosions, and even make electric constructs. Miles has kind of become more shonen in some more of his recent outings. Now, there are some interesting notions to think about for how Miles' powers could potentially interact with Deku. He can most certainly disrupt any electrical parts of Deku's suit, and likely fry his nervous system, at least temporarily. But what's bigger is that Miles' bioelectricity is particularly advantageous against genetically altered foes. Now, you could try to argue that that should include characters with quirks, since they are biological mutations. Personally, I think that's a bit of a stretch, considering that they're probably more comparable to the X gene or such, another example found in Marvel, but even if it was a one-to-one comparison, the bioelectricity doesn't usually act as a one-hit kill, even on beings on Miles' level, including his own genetically altered self when he was once hit with his own venom sting. And that kind of leads us to the biggest discrepancy with this matchup. Deku is not on Miles' level of power. He's far above it. There was a time before when he wasn't, and given everything else that I've mentioned, I probably would have gone with Miles back then. But now that My Hero Academia has finished, the manga has finished, Deku has feats that are just not reachable for a Spider-Man. Whether you're looking at Deku and Bakugo sharing One For All to produce 80 trillion tons of TNT each, or One For All users changing the weather as a side effect of their battles, and among a plethora of other crazy stuff, I don't care how you scale Spider-Man, he is not getting anywhere close to that. Miles does have a respectable level of experience at this point, and has fought some really strong opponents, but in a controlled 1v1 with this power gap, that is still a very tall order for him. Yes, tapping into the full extent of One For All can be dangerous for Deku, but he doesn't need to be that powerful to be way more powerful than Miles. Or even if he did, he could use the Fa Jin quirk to just store kinetic energy and release it all at once, also adding to his speed in short bursts, possibly making him faster than Miles. And speaking of speed, he also has the Gear Shift quirk, which allows him to change the speed or acceleration of whatever he touches. And yes, that can lead to its own set of drawbacks if used too often, but I don't think it needs to be used that often. And while Miles does have a Vibranium suit currently in the comics, if Death Battle decides to use it, Vibranium alone is not indestructible, and the suit is not even pure Vibranium like Black Panther's is, for example, allowing him to still take damage while in it. Even then, Deku might be able to attack Miles' soul through quirk and vestige transfer, but that could be up for interpretation. So ultimately, there are some questions to be answered here, but this is still overall a more straightforward debate than the last couple of debates that we've been seeing on Death Battle. Miles can easily get around some of Deku's quirks with his own abilities and experience, and with a massive benefit of the doubt, might be able to pack a little extra punch with his bioelectricity, but Deku's own power and durability is not as easily combatable. Miles at best has a slight speed advantage, not including Deku's ways to circumvent that, and Miles is simply not going to be able to stay out of range forever. And with how strong Deku has become, he only needs that one opening to be able to win. So while Miles could surprise me, and while I'd probably be rooting for him, I think I gotta side with Deku for the time being. But with all that being said, that is my prediction. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give this video a like. Comment your comments down below. Who do you think is going to win and why? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you liked it so much that you want to subscribe and see more from the channel and more from me, I would really appreciate that. But yeah, Miles versus Deku. Definitely wasn't expecting it, but I think it could be a really fun time. That's it for me. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out.